Hey guys, this is Sloan at BA Carts, and you are watching the instructional video on how to install our level 1 and level 2 plug-and-play sound system in the Denago. Now, we have a Denago Nomad we're going to be installing the level 1 and 2 system on today, but our level 1 and 2 systems are universal throughout all Denago models with the touchscreen. So the Rover XL, the XXL, the XL6, the Nomad XL, they make the Nomad non-XL, which is the non-lifted one. As long as it has a touchscreen on the cart, the level 1 and 2 system will fit your cart. If you order our level 1 system, you will receive our 150 watt plug and play amp with all the harnesses pre-made. Everything's plug and play, no cutting, no crimping, nothing like that. And then the level 1 system includes Memphis PRX4 speakers. And we only have one right now because I'm kind of doing a hybrid of this video showing you how to install both. So that is what you will receive if you do a level 1. Then the level 2 system entails everything else you see here. So the level 2 system, you will receive a 150 watt amp. You will receive our Memphis signature line of 5 1/4 speakers and with grills. The grills come right off like so. And then you will receive our speaker enclosures that go in the dash that make the speakers fire at you as opposed to at the ground. Then you will have covers to cover up what's left of the speaker hole in the dash that you will, once you remove the factory speaker, you'll have a little gap to cover. So that's what these guys are. And then you'll have 3 types of screws in there, and I'll go into detail which screw you need when we're going through the video. Now, to install the system, either one, very, very simple. You don't need very many tools. You either need a flathead screwdriver or just a panel popper for the push pins in the dash. You need an 8mm wrench. Now there's a little caveat here. We've done quite a few installations on Denagos, and I've noticed they've used a couple of different sizes in the nuts on the back side of the speaker. I'll show you what I mean by this, but the speakers are bolted in the dash, they're not screwed in the dash, and you have to have a wrench to take the nut off. And I've noticed they've had a couple different sizes of nuts. I don't know exactly which one this has yet. Hopefully it has an 8mm, so this one works. But if it doesn't, just keep an eye open for that. It might be different on your cart. You need either a screwdriver or a Phillips bit on an impact. And then you need an H5 Allen bit. And again, you can use a screwdriver if you really want to, or use an impact with an H5 Allen. And then you will also receive zip ties with your order. Obviously, first step is turn the golf cart off. And just for the sake of the video, so I have more space, I'm gonna get rid of the seat. So the first step in this for level 1 or 2, and I'll let you know when the installation changes between level 1 or 2. But the first step is we have to pull the dash up a little bit to be able to access these speakers underneath. And we have to be able to pull the speakers out. The factory speakers have to come out. So we're going to remove some push pins, remove some Allen bolts so we can pull the dash out. Just a fuzz so we can get our hand in there, and we gotta pull both of the factory speakers out. We're also gonna be removing the center glove box as well. So I tell you what, just for the sake of what we're doing, let me remove this center glove box first. So the best way to do this is we come in here and we flip it up. And the first thing you want to do is remove these screws that are in the lid. So remove both of those. Now be careful, the storage here does have a little hole in the bottom, and the screws can fall out of the hole in the bottom. So be careful of that. You can keep them in there, just make sure you pay attention that you're not missing screws and they didn't fall out of the hole out of the bottom of the pocket. So then we take the Phillips bit and we remove these 4 screws. Flip these guys up. Pull this guy out. So let's put our screws in here. Put our lid on there. Sit this back here just so it's out of the way. Okay, so now that's gone. Now while we still have our Phillips bit, we're gonna take the screws out of the cup holder. So what you do is you grab a cup holder and you pull that up, and you will see there's a screw right here at the top of the dash. But there's a screw at the top of the dash. This is also where you might not know this is where your brake fluid goes too. So right there. So we're gonna take that side off. I'll put this screw back in this pocket as well. Again, I just kind of pinch this and pull it up. Should pop right out for you. And then we're taking this screw off. And I think, oh, I'm sorry, there's one more with the Phillips bit. The 3 screws inside the steering column cover. You take these off. Okay, then there's pinch points. These click in specific spots. What you gotta do is pinch it, and it should pull apart just like that. And then, of course, keep track of your screws. So one cover will just come right off, just like so. I'm gonna leave the screws with that. Then this one's a little trickier. If you wanna come to this side, Keela, I'll show you. This one has the microphone on here, and you have the turn signal stalk on this side. So what you wanna do is pull this out. And all we're doing is, the reason we have to remove this is because we can pull the dash up a little bit. So that's all we have to do with that, is we're just taking that off. So now we can pull the dash away a little bit after we remove a couple more screws and push pins. So that is all we had to do with the Phillips bit. Now we will use the H5 Allen bit, and you'll see we have an Allen bit right here in the side of the dash. Take that out. There's one right below the speaker. There are 2 over there, but while we're over here, cannot forget this one. There's one inside of the dash. Don't forget that one. First time I ever tried to pull a dash part, I did not know there was one in there, and fought the thing for quite a long time. And there's one in the driver's side as well. So pull that out. So remove all the Allen bolts. So that's done. Set these back here as well. Now we are done with the H5 Allen bit. Now, in the written instructions, we do cover that you should take the screen off as well. Remove all the Allen bolts here. But as we've been installing more and more of these in our customers' carts, we've noticed we can get to the speakers, the nuts behind the speakers specifically. We can get there without removing the screen. It's got a little tighter with your hands, but we've noticed just for the sake of not having to remove your screen, which is not very difficult. I mean, it's just 8 Allen bolts technically, but we've noticed we can get under there pretty well without removing the screen. Now, maybe every Denago is different, so we'll see here, but I'm not gonna remove this guy. I'm just gonna leave it there for now, and we're gonna see how far we can pull this dash up. But with that, that's all we need for the H5 Allen bit. Now, we need the panel popper or the flathead screwdriver. And these are 2-part push pins. So you'll notice there's a notch there. You pull that first part out first, then the rest of it comes. So it's 2 pieces. Don't try to pull the whole thing out at the same time. You'll break the clip or the dash. Dash is coming out. Again, you don't got to get crazy with it. All we have to do is get our hand behind there enough to put our wrench on the nut. If you want to get in here and look in here, you'll see right here, there's the nuts on the back of the speakers. Unfortunately, you wouldn't have to do any of this on the dash if the speakers were screwed in, but they're not, they're bolted in. So there are nuts on the back side of the speakers. So we have to put a wrench on those to get the speakers out. So I'm gonna take my Phillips bit, which is what is a Phillips machine screw on the front of the speaker, and then I'm gonna put my wrench on here. So, and then I'm gonna remove all of them. Okay, then we pull this out, and it's plugged in here. There's a little guy you push on right here, and you unplug that. And now, all of these machine screws, nuts, the speaker, all this will no longer be used. So that is literally the only reason you have to pull the dash, is just to remove the factory speakers. Now, we're gonna go back through and put the dash back together almost all the way. So before we start install these speakers. So I'm gonna take my H5 Allen bit. I'm gonna start putting some of the Allen bolts back in. I tell you what, actually, let's do the opposite of that. Let's put the push pins in first, because it's gonna be a little easier to find their way in. So put some of these push pins back into place. Do that one. Now, come in here real quick, Keely, and let me show. If you have the level 2 system, the speaker enclosures go right here. So this push pin and Allen bolt do not go in here. You leave both of these out if you have the level 2 system. If you have a level 1 system with the PRX4s that just go right back in here, then you put these back in. But we're gonna end up putting a level 2 fully in this cart. So we're gonna leave these two empty for now. So again, if you level 2, leave these empty, level 1, still put them back in. Alrighty, so I opened our amp box up, and you're gonna see a few harnesses in here. We got our power harness, we have our output harness, and then we have, you'll see a green and white harness. This is our input harness. We're gonna grab the input harness first. What we're gonna do is run this down the center storage hole first, and the R input, what we wanna do with the R input is we wanna plug this into the speaker connector that was the connector that was plugged into the right speaker. So I just put my hand in here and located it with my hands. So this is the connector that was plugged into that speaker. And this is for the right speaker. So we're gonna plug the R input into that connector. And then same goes for this side. We're going to, you can either pull the connector up or you can run this all the way down there. It's totally up to you how you wanna do it. But I'm gonna run this down here. I have noticed that Denago changes how they zip tie their harnesses sometimes. So sometimes you might not have as much excess wire down here hanging out as this cart does. I've noticed it being pretty tight up here. So you might have to plug it in up here first to be able to access it. So now we're down here for the camera's sake. So now we're on the left speaker hole and we have our left input. So plug that in as well. And now we have our input wire hanging out right here. We're just gonna leave that hang out there for a second. Now, we have our output. And this is just like the input where it has left and right. So we're gonna run our right down to the speaker hole and follow the same path with the left. Push that down there. So got that. Now we've got our output wire hanging out right here with the input. Then we have our power one. So if you look in here in the dash, you'll notice you have a USB charger and there's a harness right here running straight to a USB charger. This is running straight to the USB charger and it's a 2-pin white connector. What you want to do, you might need a screwdriver or something to be able to push this little prong down. Don't cut yourself. Unplug that. Then take their power harness from the amp and plug this guy in. So now we have 3 harnesses in total. Power harness, output harness, input harness. And of course we will tidy all these wires up when we're done. But for the time being, we're gonna plug all this into the amp. The amp does have 3M sticky tape on the bottom. We're not gonna do that yet. We're not gonna remove the 3M cover yet because we're just gonna plug this all in, make sure everything's working correctly before we get crazy and wipe the dash down and stick this guy down to the bottom of the dash. We're just gonna sit it in there, make sure everything works first, in case there's any troubleshooting involved at all. And yeah, we just don't want to stick it down and then end up having to, you can also adjust the gain on the amp. Some people like to adjust the gain down from where we set it to. So it's a lot harder to do that if it's stuck to the bottom of the dash. So that'll be one of the last steps we do. So for the time being, we're going to plug this in. So power goes into power, output goes to output. Then you've got RCAs, orange goes to orange, black goes to black. So we're gonna let that hang out right here for now. And that is essentially how simple it is to install the amp. That's same for level 1, level 2. To give you the quick rundown on how you would install a level 1 system and the only difference here between these two are the speakers. So, and obviously you have the enclosures with the level 2 system. So we have our Memphis PRX4 speakers. What you would do is literally plug this in and then take the screws provided with it, and you would screw this guy right into the existing holes. Obviously you plug it right in like so, and you would stuff your wires up, and then you would just screw this up. You obviously want to miss the factory holes that were for the machine screws, but that's all you do. You just screw those up and then finish the second half of this video, and that's the install. That's how simple it is to install level 1 speakers. This customer's card actually gets a level 2 system, so we're gonna be fully installing level 2. But that's as simple as it is. Those just replace the factory speakers. They plug into the harness we ran down there, they screw up, done. So, but this is level 2 system. So what we're gonna do is we are going to take our speaker enclosures. We want to grab, I'm gonna start in the passenger side. So we got the passenger side that dips down at an angle right here so we know it's passenger. And then I'm going to take 2 of the larger number 10 screws and take my Phillips bit. And Keely, if you want to go to that side, that might be best, I think, maybe. What I want to do is run my output wire through the enclosure so we're not pinching it behind. And all I'm doing is pushing this to the up into the corner as hard as I possibly can, pretty much. Making sure the bottom's level. It should be level once it's hitting against the dash, but I'm just pushing it flat against the back, flat against the right side, pushing it as far as I can in the corner. And then while I'm holding it there, I'm going to, there's 2 mounting screws on the inside, and I'm going to put these 2 screws in. That one's in. And again, don't hesitate to push up and back while you're doing that. So that's literally as simple as it is installing your enclosure. Now, I take one of my signature speakers, and your signature speaker has a grill as well as with the speaker here. This has an audio connector, and then if you have our LED speaker harness that plugs into our power plate, our XK Glow power plate, that's what this black connector is for, is it plugs directly into our XK Glow power plate, and then the speakers illuminate. Otherwise, if you don't have an LED controller plugging into this, these will not illuminate. So that's what that's for. We're not doing an LED system on this, so this remains unplugged. So I plug the audio one in, then I'm gonna sit this up here. Ooh, I tell you what, I'm getting ahead of myself. We can leave that plugged in. I gotta put the covers on first. So we take 1 black cover. We need 4 short black screws. And what I'm gonna do is get down here, and you'll see, you can see half of the speaker hole from the original install. I'm gonna sit this cover right up here. We're gonna screw this guy down to cover that up. I'm gonna hold it flat against the enclosure so it looks clean once it's actually fully screwed up. Now, the cover is installed. Now I can actually put the speaker on. So we're gonna set the speaker up in here. Now you'll notice, you'll see there's already pre-drilled holes in the enclosure. So we're gonna want to stuff all these connectors up into the dash. Then set the speaker into place. Stick the grill over top. And then we want to make sure we're in line with the the screw holes in there. And once we're lined up, you can feel it with your fingers if you want to, or if you want to hand start it with a screwdriver first to make sure you're lined up with the holes, then you can do that. And then we're gonna put all four of these self-tappers. These are self-tappers, so it's gonna take a little bit of a push to get into the speaker enclosure. But that's how we mount the speaker down. So then all four speaker screws are screwed in. Speakers are sitting there level. And now we will perform the exact same steps on the other side. We're done with the speaker part of this. So now what we do is before we tape this amp down, we want to start playing some tunes and make sure everything's working accordingly. So we turn the card on and we got our phone connected, and now probably plays 3 times louder than the factory speakers did. So, and 3 times clearer as well. So speakers are playing, everything's good. You'll notice when you turn your card on, you'll have a little red light on your amp right here. And what that is the gain. So if you have a small flathead screwdriver, you can actually turn this down if you want to. If you think it's louder than you'll ever listen to it, and you know the classic Denago thing where the volume turns on pretty loud when you start the cart. If you don't want it to be that loud and you think this will plays louder than you'll ever listen to it, you can take a small flathead screwdriver, turn it counterclockwise, and it'll turn the max volume down. So you can do that, but we know the system's playing, everything's working. So now what we're gonna do is remove the 3M tape from the amp, and we're gonna stuff that guy down at the bottom of the dash. Now, when it comes to 3M tape, you wanna make sure you're sticking it to a clean surface. So if you have like some rubbing alcohol, anything like that, that you want to rub on the bottom of the dash, please do that. This is a brand new stinking cart, so it's not going to have any dirt or anything like that on the bottom of the dash. We'll still rub it down a little bit, but we're going to remove this tape. Push this down here. There's plenty of surface area down here. It's flat, so I'm going to press really hard down for a few seconds to make sure that amp is staying down well. So that's good now. Now we grab some zip ties, and I guess I forgot one thing in my what you need for tools. You will need some wire cutters so you can cut your zip ties, or you can just leave them uncut if you want to. But I'm gonna, another very important detail. Our RCAs we plugged in. These can unplug pretty easily. If you want to make sure they're not going to come apart, whether you can just zip tie them like this right here so they never come unplugged, or if you have electrical tape, you can run electrical tape around those. But if you don't have electrical tape, one simple way to do it is you could take this right here and zip tie right here, and they'll never come apart then. They can't say never say never, but you know, now they're kind of held in the same spot. So now we're going to take all this wiring we've ran everywhere. Also, you have a fuse, inline fuse for your amp as well. So if you want to, you can try to zip tie everything up in a fashion that you are able to access that fuse really well. So if anything happen to short out on the amp, it would blow that fuse right there. So zip tie all our excess wiring up. That looks like I got all of it in that one go. So put that back down here. And now we will just button up the dash the rest of the way, and this video is done. So there can be a little bit of trickiness going on with this steering column cover. We got to run the turn signal stalk through the hole, and then you want to be cognizant of this big white connector here. We don't want that getting into a weird place. So run that here, stuff it down. There are screw holes right here, and then there's holes inside the frame. You want to line those up, and how we clamp it on there is with the other cover. Also, be mindful of the radio. I'm sorry, not the radio, but the microphone. You don't want to screw that and pinch that between the frame as well. So we got that. If you notice, you can't get to the hole very easily. You just got to tilt the steering wheel up. That is pretty much it for the level 1 and level 2 installation video on your Denago. Again, the only difference is the enclosures and the speakers between level 1 and level 2. You would have just plugged the level 1s in, screwed them up, and you're done. So the install is a little bit easier, but still very simple. You saw how short this video was and how easy it is to install this system. So again, if you ran into anything that you don't see in this video that's different, please just let us know. We're not very hard to get a hold of. But per usual, thank you for always supporting BA Karts. We appreciate the hell out of you guys, and thank you for watching.